Donna, you're on mute.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the October 30th, 2023 Committee of the Whole meeting. Today we have a budget review and we're focusing on the fire department and all things related to that. I want to thank everyone. It's been a trying couple weeks for me, and I want to thank everyone for their support. I'm back in swing of things, although by Zoom. So if you're there in person, we welcome you. If you're virtual, like myself and several counselors, we welcome you as well. And it is, I'm glad now to hand it over to Councilman Wes Butler, who has been doing such an excellent job with these budget reviews. Mr. Butler.
Thank you, and it's great to have you back.
Thank you.
Now we will get to the budget review for the fire department, and Chief Stout and Michelle, I'll be handing it over to present.
Okay, thank you. As you can see, I'm not going to go over line by line and read every single thing in front of you. I just think that would, unless you want me to, but I wasn't planning on it. Basically, everything that is here on the right-hand side, we have highlighted the increases and why there was the increase. As you can see here from the first part of our administration, most of this is the salaries and things of that are all covered underneath the collective bargaining agreement. So that's where most of those came about. As we come down below, almost everything in the top line has to do with that, including payouts for first deputy retiree and on down through. As we get to the lower part there, you'll see the reason for some raises, some new contracts, added services for the Knox Connect service and for Vector Solutions. Vector Solutions is who handles our reporting and our information that we have for our responses on our computers. Knox Select is that's a system to which it keeps our Knox box keys, which is a key that gets us in. Everybody may or may not be familiar with what a Knox box is, but if property owners have a small box that has keys that are property, mainly commercial, it's a key that we have that opens that box to gain access to their building. And it's a secure system. That way we know who has the key, who used it last, things of that nature in case it would get lost, because it's a pretty big responsibility having that key. So that's in there. We've increased a little bit as far as with training and that with lodging for when we go to different seminars and things of that nature. And the big one there that you see is a maintenance and purchase of computers for officers and for mounts and everything for replacement of the Android devices that we have, which are becoming outdated. All of our apparatus and our staff cars have a small tablet in it, which assists us in our responses, locations. We hit the address, gives us base information for the buildings. So all that is in there. That's what's the increase is for those items under that first part of administration. Does anybody have any questions or concerns with anything with that? No? All righty. Moving on. Well, did you have the salaries? Let's see, administrative salaries. That's just showing the salaries that are going up due to the raises that are within the collective bargaining agreement. So that's just reflecting the raises as far as salaries for administration. It has listed who falls under the administrative end of it. The apparatus technician, as you see, that is a position that was agreed upon and created in the last contract. I spoke today with HR. We do have a gentleman who will be fulfilling that position. It's looking like he'll be starting on December 1st of this year. It was a process to get him to get someone to come aboard. And basically what that is going to be is to make it clear to a lot of individuals have been upset, worrying that this position was replacing someone in public works. It certainly is not doing that in the least bit. This person will work directly for the fire department, working on our apparatus to make necessary repairs to our apparatus. There's a lot of items that we've had to send out in the past, that we had an individual who owned his own private business who came in to make repairs to pumps and things like that, to which the employees at our shop are not certified to do. This gentleman used to come in, and he has since retired. So we've been kind of bounced back and forth getting someone to make these repairs. This makes life a lot easier for us. We have one person who can control and take care of the repairs and maintenance of our apparatus. So this is a new position, and I'll be bringing that forth for council approval once I get the final for that individual to come aboard. But that's the salary showing the salary reflected for next year. So that's with that. Any questions with that or anything? Alrighty. Prevention education. That's for the Office of the Fire Marshal. As you see, increase to the collective bargaining agreement. There's a line item there, contracted services. There was an increase. Our members of our fire marshal office now wear body cameras. And the reason we have them is a lot of times, many times, depending on the situation, that they're interviewing someone regarding a possible arson or what happened at a fire. Stories get lost and mixed up. And this is to make sure that it's covered with that. Also, they're wearing the cameras while they're inside of a home investigating if any kind of discrepancy will come up where perhaps not that it has happened, but it's happened in other cities where a civilian has said, hey, I had a box full of cash sitting there, now it's gone. It shows on the camera that what exactly they're doing the entire time while they're doing the investigation, from on scene to talking to the individuals. It's a good tool that we have, and that's increased because we did not have that before. Increase for training, cost of training fees is increased pricing. Everything is with the prices of stuff going up, but it's pretty minimal as far as the increases with the prevention office. Is that everything in there?
Just a slight decrease for disaster recovery.
Oh yeah, the disaster recovery service, there's a slight decrease with that. Yes. Oh, and there's a slight increase with pet insurance and care costs, and that's for Gracie the arson dog, because the price of everything is going up with that, but that's to cover her. So is there any questions on the fire marshal's office or prevention education as it shows? No? Alrighty. The next line is simply the salaries for the individuals in that office, the fire marshal and his 3 lieutenants, and that's all per the collective bargaining agreement that's involved with there. So yeah, next we have fire suppression. So this is pretty much the big one for us. Everything that went up is an increase due to the collective bargaining as noted. You'll also notice there too, we have 2 retirees from the suppression side for a payout for next year, a second deputy chief and a firefighter, senior firefighter who are retiring. That's listed in there. We also have listed with the contractual services. We've increased that by 5%. That was, if you remember last year, we had the raise on the dispatching fees that we had to move some money that it went up. We put it in at 5%. To hopefully cover if there is any kind of raise in the dispatching fees. So we've placed that in there. Under scuba, we don't have a scuba team, but we just have that line because we have our what we call swift water rescue equipment, which is dry suits, things of that nature. We do have a raft, a boat that we can get people out, and some of our dry suits, which is totally opposite of wetsuit. You put it on, it keeps you dry. They have become damaged and worn out over the years. We've had them for probably 5 to 6 years. So we're replacing some suits. They're about $900 a piece. So that's why the increase for that. The maintenance and repair of buildings is noted there for some general maintenance and repair of our stations as they are getting older. And a lot of our appliances and furniture and things of that nature are becoming older and need to be replaced and or upgraded. And as it was noted, that's except for anything at 9th and Marion and McKnight Spring. The McKnight Spring had a pretty much an overhaul this year, And Ninth and Marion, as we all know, is, well, it's Ninth and Marion. We'll leave it at that. For the next line, maintenance of equipment, as it shows the cost covering the apparatus. Expenses falling under our department for the future in the EVT position. Plus, there's just a lot of repairs as we still, even though, and I appreciate, us, we're getting into that lease program, it's still going to be some time off until we start receiving new trucks. We have to keep what we have on the road. So that's been increased. Fuel costs are fuel costs. That's been raised also. Not actually, yeah, it's really not that much it's going up, but compared to what all the fuel costs are. So that's it for that line. That's what we have for that. So is there any questions as far as with that line with suppression? For any increases or anything? Alrighty. And then salaries, go ahead.
We want to make the new positions down here.
Yes, and how many is it? Yeah, we have the salaries listed. We do have an additional 10 positions listed. Now it's 10 positions to fill current vacancies that we have in addition to the 3 retirees next year, because as 2 of them are deputy chiefs. So as they retire, we have to move someone up from the lower ranking deputy to the higher ranking deputy, someone from lieutenant to deputy, and then someone from firefighter to lieutenant. So everything moves up in that nature. Plus, we did put in, as I stated before, when we had a meeting, we looking to add on to bring our strength up by 4 additional personnel, and that's with paramedics, because we have moved our 4 EMS lieutenants who are paramedics onto our squad vehicles. So that's a single vehicle, which they're covering many, I hate to use the term nuisance calls, but calls where like you get a medical alarm or something, or someone just needs help getting up. They're able to cover that and take care of that call without tying up a full unit. So it's basically an additional unit that we're getting with 1 person covering it. We did raise it with the 10 positions that would give us to cover the 4. We're attempting to get paramedic only, but if not, it would be paramedic. It would be a firefighter EMT covering it. But in the long run, including the addition of the emergency vehicle technician, the EVT, it brings our total strength up from 137 to 142. Now, again, that's not an increase in our firefighting coverage as far as we're still at the 18 firefighter minimum, things of that nature. It's just filling in vacancies that were created because we moved that person, the EMT, to another position on the squad. So we do have a current list of, with that, we have a current firefighter EMT list of about 13 individuals. And we have opened, once again, our paramedic only position for the application for that. And that, speaking with civil service, because we only sometimes get 1 or 2 individuals at a time, we're going to constantly keep that open, that if we would get 2 or 3 people who apply or are interested, we can have them apply, take the test, and at least have a list established that if we need a paramedic, we would have them. So that's the increases and all the numbers are there. So that's what we're looking for as far as that. Is there any questions or comments with that? All righty, moving on, EMS. Increases according to the collective bargaining. The expenses are due to increased projected costs in 2023. Rising costs as far as our removal of the infectious waste. That's basically, the gloves, the sharps, everything that we keep within the EMS unit, and everything else there is noted. Public outreach, rising costs in the patient privacy compliance, which is HIPAA. Everybody's, I'm sure, heard of HIPAA. The infection control, which is our gloves, coverage of basic, your protective equipment for that. And we are looking to add some additional money to have some work done at the EMS station, which does need some additional repairs and work done with HVAC. And this could be in addition to or just covered anything that wouldn't be covered by the capital with building improvements. Aging furniture and things of that nature, I believe, like the mattresses that are in the EMS building are probably the ones that are still there from 2001, things of that nature, refrigerator, stove, and HVAC. Main thing that will probably be needed there is the main garage doors are in pretty bad shape, so we would look to replace them. And for the most part, it's manufacturer and increased costs from mostly everything is beyond our control. Deputy Chief Snitsky, EMS chief, he gathered all this information, and that's where it was set forth. So it's all listed there as far as where and why things are being increased in the way they are. So does anyone have any questions for him for that?
Oh, no. I have a different question.
Okay,
Donna
Marcia,
has
go
a
ahead.
question and then I can go.
Go ahead. Oh, Donna has a question first?
Yeah, it's a minor question, very minor. When I see sick leave bonus, what does that mean? I'm sorry, I don't understand what that means. I know it's a minor number.
It's just the sick leave incentive.
Oh, that's just a sick leave incentive that if,
Oh, from collective bargaining. Okay,
yeah, that's part of the collective bargaining. Yep,
Okay.
that's,
I'm
in the
sorry.
con-
That's fine.
no, that's
Thank
okay.
you.
Not a
Thank you.
problem.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was interested in the training costs because I think the types of training are probably expanding at this point, what you need training in. Is that a line item here or?
That's under the training.
That's under our training. That's a separate line item.
Okay. so
Our
we'll-
training covers both fire and EMS.
Okay, and I
So,
can
yep.
ask you that when we get there.
So is there any other questions as far as the EMS line? No? All righty. Then we move to EMS salaries. Basically increase all due to the collective bargaining. Just to let folks know, there's money that comes out of what the EMS salary, which covers some firefighters. And there's some money that comes out of the firefighter line, the special line, which covers some paramedics. But when it comes to, as you can see, the ranking there of paramedic 1 through 5, paramedic 1 through 3 with firefighters, it's all because of the contract. It's all pretty much a wash is what it is. The only cost that is lower is where it says paramedic non-firefighter. They're at a lower rate simply because they're certified as just a paramedic and not a firefighter also, which is ones that we try to get in the door more than the paramedic firefighters at this time. But that's just an increase for the CBA. Any questions? All righty, moving on. Training. Training, there's everything's in there as far as the collective bargaining. As you see there, we doubled the overtime, and the reason being is, to be quite honest with you, we have one training lieutenant who covers everything for the entire city. And it is a monumental task for that individual, for Lieutenant Batts. And not that he uses all day overtime, but he does work quite a bit because it's just, there's not enough hours in the day. So that money is towards that. Plus, when he does, that also covers if and when he's unable to do something, if we use another individual who may be certified to teach a certain class, the overtime, the money there, because that individual normally will be paying for that, be completing that task while he or she is on, not on their shift on a regular overtime. So that's in there for that. The collective bargaining agreement, once again, an increase to price for the department for training. Everything's going up, and this also includes the academy class, which we talked about, the 10 individuals that previously that's their salary. This is the cost for their training, for materials, for their uniforms. Every new firefighter is also provided with the turnout gear that we wear, 2 full sets. Everybody in the department is given that, but the money for the initial 2 sets comes out of that, as well as their dress uniform that covers that. So there's an increase to that simply because of price increase with everything as far as gear. I believe a full set of turnout gear for each individual firefighter is well over it's probably close to $2,500 to $3,000 per set is what it costs. So it's expensive, which is why that's up. And then below that, yeah, the training lieutenant has listed general supplies. It's a pretty big ask as an increase, but what that is doing is getting us a lot more of training materials and items that we need to successfully do our training. The elevator simulator is a big thing. We have a lot of elevator calls that we're out on getting people out of elevators, and many places have been very good to us. Doubletree Garage is one. They've been excellent with us that we go there. We just completed a round of our confined space training using one of their elevators in their parking garage. However, it's fantastic they're letting us use it, but for the most part, we are tying up one of their elevators, and there's people who, you know, get somewhat upset when they're walking up 6 flights of steps because they didn't know the elevator was out. We were there doing stuff. That simulator is basically, we're not putting an elevator in a building and having anything like that. It's a simulator showing the controls and stuff like that. And as you can read there's different mannequins for firefighting, all kind of rope rescue equipment. It's just the items that we need to successfully and safely conduct training, and it's things that are required. Also, the hemorrhage control, if you're wondering what that is, that's for our EMS, and that's I believe, I'm not sure if it's an actual mannequin or whatever, full mannequin, whatever, but it produces hemorrhage, spurting blood, things like that, without getting into great detail, but it's definitely tools that we need. So that's why all that information is within that training. What else we got there? Oh, and also one other thing there, a wireless headset for our tiller training. How we do things right now is still somewhat old school, and we're trying to get away from that. Now, when a person goes out and learns how to drive the back of a fire truck, somebody's standing on the side of the truck holding on and buckled in and going out and talking to them and grabbing the wheel and saying stop. Now we're getting away from that, and what we're doing there is having a wireless headset where even if the person is practicing in a parking lot, the tillerman who is teaching that person how to drive the back of the truck can wear the headset and communicate with that person and tell them, no, you're doing this, you're doing that. And it's much more safer because we don't have somebody hanging off the side of the truck like we did years ago, which probably isn't something, it's no longer done in the fire department, and we shouldn't do it even for training. So that's what the base is for that. So these are all items that are, yes, it's pricey, but it is stuff that helps us with training and for the future. Any questions or anything with that? Yeah.
Yeah. And approximately how many hours of training does it require for a fire EMS to become certified?
Go ahead. For the EMS, I'll let Chief Stinsky answer that.
Yeah.
Good evening. So there's different tiers, obviously, of EMS. There's the paramedic, there's the EMT. For EMT, it's roughly about 18 hours at the bare minimum a year. I'm sorry, at every 2 years, and then 36 for the paramedics, pre-hospital registered nurses. And that's just doing the bare minimum. And as the needs of our community change and just different things that, you know, years ago, we never would have thought of or weren't even on our radar, there are certain classes that, and drills we should do to try to be better prepared for the community.
And I'm glad you brought up the community as far as bilingual capabilities and any training to make sure that there can be communication to, citizens that, don't speak English.
It has been something we have looked at. I haven't really found any, I guess, accredited classes is the best way to put it. I know St. Joe's is looking to do one in the near future for medical professionals, and depending on how that's received by the EMS community of Berks County, I do plan on seeing if we can do something of that sort for our people to try to, better assist the members of the community.
Okay, thank you. And I have another question. We'll go back to the chief, and it doesn't have anything to do with any specific topics. Do you use drones at all when you're doing surveillance to find out, the extent of a fire? Is that part of your technology?
We did purchase a drone last year that is used by the fire marshal's office.
Okay.
We have not used one, to my knowledge, directly for like your everyday residential fire. But I know the purpose of having them is to assist with pre-planning, where we can look at buildings. A perfect example that's come up several times, the 6th and Chestnut building. They can fly it over to see if the conditions of that building have deteriorated, even more. It has been used. There was a drone that was used at the Latisse handbag fire
Right, I saw
back
that.
in 2018, whatever that was. So yes, it's not, we don't have one that we have it right of ways that goes out, but it can be used for, as a tool for fires. And, if they also have used it for on the mountain because the, drone that we have has the infrared capabilities and things like that. So if we would have a missing person or somebody on the mountain, they can fly it up there and use it to cover that. And that was purchased, like I said, last year through a grant at no cost to us and our fire marshal's office. Well, I know for sure Lieutenant Litzenberger is certified to operate it. I'm not sure if any of the other individuals are, but we do have one.
I remember seeing it when you were doing the Latisse fire.
Yes,
So
which
that was what I was.
which
hoping.
came in handy because we knew right away that if we ever have a fire in that place, we're not sending anybody in.
Right.
And I was there when we did the look with the drone, and then I was there the day we had the fire, and I knew we weren't sending anybody in. So, but yes, we do have that. And as far as other training for firefighters, it varies. When he gives a number, as he said, like 18 and 36, that's training that is done that is needed and recorded that has to get turned over to keep our certification. However, as far as regular training drills and things like that, it's continuous. Most platoons, as we have the 4 platoons, most platoons do one type of training drill per day, whether it's using something similar to this elevator machine that we would get, or just simply pulling hose lines or using the jaws of life. So they average each tour. There's an average amount of hours that are done with training. So it's consistent or constant, excuse me.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions with training or anything on that line? All righty. And then it's just, as I said, we only have one training lieutenant, and that's just a CBA. That's his salary and fringe benefits that are in there. And is that it? And that's our budget. Is there any questions or comments or anything with it? Yes.
This has to more do with the revenue part of it. Okay, and first of all, thank you. I was a recipient of your services. It was incredible what goes on when you're transported by EMS. But saying that, where do we generate revenue besides the city income as far as insurance, anything like that?
Well, for fireside, what we do, how some of revenue is generated is through, if there's a motor vehicle accident, we can charge the vehicle owner's insurance company for if we have to use the jaws of life or any tools like that, or if we have to apply oil dry, if there was a spill of some kind of hazardous materials, and we have to cover that. We can charge for that. We can charge for use for someone who has homeowner's insurance for if there's a fire in someone's home, that gets charged, and that's handled by a third-party billing company. Also, EMS has a third-party billing company which handles everything directly with the billing for EMS for what is covered by your insurance, what isn't covered if you're a member. That's all handled by them. Our fire marshal's office does charge for, they have their fees, which are on the city's site. They have their fees that are set as far as doing inspection for a new property, fire alarm testing, things of that nature. That's all set. And we also have with EMS, the ordinance as far as, which was passed last year, for the right of refusal for EMS, that they have to come to us first, Reading, Phillies, whoever, to do standbys. And we really have not had many issues with that, 1 or 2 little glitches here and there. So as far as the fire and EMS, that's where our revenue comes from, is through the third parties that we use to bill for those services. Okay.
All right, any more questions or comments? All right, then I just need a motion to adjourn the meeting then. Oh. I thought that was a part of the
So
budget.
moved.
All right, we'll move on I'm sorry, we're not yet finished. We're at.
Okay,
debt
I'm sorry. I unmoved.
All righty, thank you very much.
I can give you mine. As soon as I'm done. Good evening, council. Tonight, we have two things to discuss related to budget review, debt service, and then pension. So as you'll know, debt service is going to be found in your budget books under non-departmental miscellaneous. Debt service represents approximately 12% of the city's budget. It generally reflects large infrastructure projects that the city has taken on. There's been no new debt issuance in quite a long time. I think around 2014 or 15 was the last time new debt was taken out by the city. This amortization schedule shows you on tab 2, which is the one I'm reflecting, general fund debt obligations, debt service obligations through 2033. So if we continue to do nothing and except make debt service payments annually, the city's general fund will be debt-free at the end of 2033. There are other debt obligations associated with the water and sewer funds that grow the pot of outstanding debt to 152 million. from the general fund obligation of 117 million reflected at the bottom here. So again, if we continue to do nothing, don't take out any new debt service, but continue to pay down on the existing debt, the city general fund at least, we will be able to say we're debt-free as of 2033. Recently, we have gone through S&P rating upgrade that happened back at the beginning of this year. It's worth noting. The city's financial outlook went from BBB+ to AAA- under the Standard & Poor's rating system. Any question on debt service? Least fun topic of the budget.
When you say debt services, how did we get in debt? Like from what?
So let's say we wanted to build a new city hall building. That's going to cost anywhere from $75 to $100 million. We would take out a general obligation bond of that $100 million. You would go through a series of legislative hurdles to put it as a ballot measure for the public to approve. And then once that bond is issued, the city can then go build that $100 million building. Then the public, through the council body, is obligated to pay that off over X number of years, typically around 30 years.
And that's done like instead of getting grants and stuff.
So typically you wouldn't get a grant for a huge project like that. So yes, it is done in lieu of seeking grant funding to supplement parts of a project. When you want to just do the whole thing at one time, then you would go out for a bond issuance.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe to summarize, historically, what has been our projects that require the greatest amount of debt service? You talked about the wastewater treatment plant, our water system. I don't know whether, where is all that debt coming from? What projects are we seeing? And I think it's good because we haven't had any debt service recently, I think people lose track of the fact that there were things that need to be done. And as the city ages, there's going to be things that need to be done in the future that are going to require debt service.
Off the top of my head, I can't rattle them off for you. I know there's some stadium debt that is still existing from when the stadium was built. Michael may have a few in his memory. I can get a report from Mike Vind, our financial advisor, giving the history of the prior debt issuances. But
Well,
that's
and
way.
a caveat here too is that we have refinanced some of this debt to draw it down. Marcia, you know about that over the years with, Jeff and the different administration leaderships. So we have actually decreased the amounts by refinancing. Would you say it's accurate, Marcia?
Yes, it's accurate, and there was one time back, and I think this is just a caveat for moving forward. We were advised a long time ago by a previous managing director to pay off some of our pension obligation through a pension bond, which was the wrong decision to make, but it was made. And so I think we just have to be careful as we move forward that we're very mindful of what kind of debt we are incurring and for what purposes.
Absolutely.
So is this debt paid at like one lump sum a year?
No. There are some payments that are due at a specific time. All right, there are specific payments that are due at a certain time. The rest is paid out through the year.
Okay. But it's all is it like all bundled into one payment? Like everything, is it? I don't know if I'm explaining it right or trying to say it right. So is it like multiple institutions that we're paying or just, yeah, okay.
Generally, the payment schedule is an interest payment of 6 months at a time would be made either May 1st or May 15th. And interest and principal would be required to be paid on or around November 1st or November 15th. So typically there are two payments per year, one being interest only, the other being interest and an annual principal requirement.
What fund does it come out of to pay it?
What we're looking at here is general fund.
Okay, thank you.
So then the answer to your question would be twice a year, May for interest and then November for interest and principal.
Yeah, and looking forward, do you see any projects that are going to be requiring for us to be taking out any type of loans and such? And I'm thinking basically the wastewater treatment plant, and well, that's almost completed, but the water system, we keep hearing things about how that's aging as an infrastructure, and we haven't really had a lot of discussion here about that, but it is a concern. We think we hear from the Water Authority, the conditions at Onalani, things that need to be addressed there. So any thoughts on that? It may not be a question you can answer tonight, but I think as we move forward with the budget, we at least need to forecast what might be coming up as far as debt service.
So when I alluded to big projects, so we'd have to think big, like we would have to come up with something big. The Onalani Dam repairs would not justify a bond issuance. That could be covered in Pinvest loans, which we've proven through the Fritz Island project update that we can manage a large Pinvest loan and repay. Councilman Dalbert has a hand.
Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Thank you. The interest that we pay on these is exceptionally low, correct?
These rates were locked in at that time, yes.
Yeah, and we're actually quite fortunate that we're not looking to do anything right now, given the current rates. So, you know, I just wanted to add that as I remember, these rates were just quite low.
That is correct. The last refinance, so to speak, that we did was in 2021. The last time rates were very favorable to us. I think we did one in late 19 as well.
Our rates right now are generally in between 1.3%, 1.3% and 5%.
All right, any more questions before Jamar moves on to pension? All right, you go ahead.
The health of your pension fund is one of the determining factors in either entering or exiting Act 47. And as it relates to that, the Auditor General's office generally looks at your funding ratio. So prior to the current valuation, we were at a ratio of 78%, which is minimally distressed. With this new valuation, we go up to 82% funded across all three plans, which is technically still distressed. We won't leave quote unquote distressed status until We achieved 90% funding across all three pension funds. But there is still good news. As you can see here in the middle, the funding ratio blue bar, and I did pass this out in the handout. The O&E, Officers and Employees Pension Fund, is funded at 93%, so 92.8. That was previously 85.7%. The Police Pension Fund is funded at 75.7%. Previously, it was 70.9%. And then the Fire Pension Fund, which was previously had the highest funding ratio at 86.3%, is now at 87.8%. But as I mentioned, the O&E fund has exceeded them. In terms of the MMO projection, our MMO aligns with what the actuary has calculated. We're off by just about $2,000. So kudos to Michael, who does the MMO calculation for all three funds for budget purposes. We continue to use a smooth method of calculation. We're maintaining our 7.25 benchmark. And we've also received a significant, I would say, increase in state pension aid. So in 2022, our state aid amount was 3.9 million. And 2023, we just received our allocation. It was about 4.4 million. Any questions on pension?
Go ahead, Marcia.
Okay, and this is just to be able to look at what we've done to be able to get us to this point, because we were in dire straits regarding the pensions. And so we've had some good practices, but if you could just really just give us a snapshot about what worked to improve our pensions standings.
The city's made all of its MMO obligations since Act 47. There's been no change. There will be no change there. We do the calculation in a timely manner. We bring it before you in a timely manner for approval. We are doing a lot better with the timing of getting our actuary studies done. That was a few years behind schedule when I came to the city. So all of these things in combination, along with making responsible decisions, have us positioned where we are. As well, a significant, I won't say, a significant cost-cutting measure that we have maintained has been not restoring any post-employment medical benefits. Those were removed under Act 47. And it's very responsible to not restore any of them, as well as to not make any significant changes to pension incentives going forward in order to maintain cost controls.
Yeah, I think it was very significant. The post-employment pension benefits was really pulling us down. Combining the pension boards, has that been a help?
It has helped streamline some of the decision-making, yes.
Okay,
It's not perfect, but it has helped.
okay, thank you.
All right, any more questions? All right, I believe that's all on the list. All right, thank everyone for presenting.
I just
Chris has a question.
I just have one last thing. I just wanted to commend, give Jamar a shout out and his department. I think in terms of pension and our debt, I mean, if you look at it, the city is managed very professionally, and that's a testament to all of you. You know, we sit here at this budget meeting and we go over these numbers, but we're really not the experts on this. Not one of us sitting around this table, it really is. If we're being, 100%. But it's so good to know that we do have professionals managing these things as well. So thank you very much.
And I concur with that comment. I think there's been a lot of very painful times where I've sat at the meeting and no, I haven't been getting information. That's years in the past. I think Act 47 helped us to get on the right track, but I think our professional staff, so to Jamar and your whole department, thank you.
No, thank you for that. We have a solid team, with Michael and, Caroline and Ken and Maria Cantner and all of the folks that make out the finance department. Unfortunately, we're losing our accounting manager in the next couple days. But that's posted, and we're actively seeking, to fill that position. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thanks again. I just need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
You got it.
Thank you. It's adjourned.
Good night, everyone.
Feel better, Donna.